Hi, this is The Greatest Story Ever Played. I'm Dan.
I'm Jordan.
And today we're going to be talking about Kentucky Route Zero. Specifically, we're going to be talking about Act 1 and the first interlude.
This is a very interesting, very interesting game. So we'll jump right in. Hopefully, the description. I don't even know if it'll capture what the game's about, but we'll give it a shot. So Kentucky Route Zero is a magical, realist adventure game in 5 acts, featuring a haunting electronic score in a suite of hymns and bluegrass standards recorded by the Bedquilt Ramblers. Rendered in a striking visual style that draws as much from the theater, film, and experimental electronic art as it does from the history of video games, this is a story of unpayable debts, abandoned futures, and the human drive to find community.
All right. So, yeah, a lot of different things this game is. A little background on the game itself. It was developed by Cardboard Computer. This is their only game out. And then also, this game actually began as a Kickstarter, which is
Nice.
pretty interesting. Just seeing that, it got fully funded and ultimately came out. I think, too, I'll have to double check on this, but I think that the first episode came out in 2013, but the final episode maybe didn't come out until like January 2020 or something. So, and it used to be PC only, and then in January they brought it over to PS4 and Xbox and all of that stuff, Switch. So kind of interesting, this, like, I would say unique path to being made.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, I know I've heard of other games being kickstarted. Not too many. I don't think any I've played, but I think a lot of like Steam games, computer games can start kickstarted. I think it's a way that a lot of people get their game from like maybe a small indie game to either a slightly larger indie game or just a really big game or something like that.
Yeah. It seems like it is mostly a start as a PC and then potentially funding to get it there. I think Night in the Woods was a Kickstarter also.
Oh, cool. Then I guess I have played one.
But I think that's the only one we've played that's been a Kickstarter before. But yeah, it's a cool idea for sure. I try to look at Kickstarter periodically because like that would be cool to fund the next Kentucky Route Zero or the next Night in the Woods or something. Like that would be cool to help make that happen.
Yeah, that'd be really cool.
Yeah. Cool. I guess with that, we'll jump into kind of the game itself, but we did have one question off top since it happens right at the beginning of the game, which is essential, which is, what did you name your dog? Because you get to name, you have a dog with you and you can choose to name it.
What were the options? I can't remember.
I think your options are Blue. There's another name that I don't remember. I feel like it's something like Harold, but not Harold.
So something not like the dog at all.
Yeah, like a people name that's semi-formal. And then I think the other one is That's Not My Dog, which is weird.
Oh, that's mean.
Yeah, I don't know whose dog that is. I personally went with Blue for this. I thought that was a good dog name. And the formal name wasn't one that appealed to me, so I was like, sure, Blue sounds like a quality dog name to me.
Yeah, I named them the same. It was Blue. Because he was like gray, like a gray looking color, I think. So it just it fit. And then I don't remember the other name, but it definitely didn't remember it not being a dog name or what the dog looked like.
Yeah, it felt like it didn't land for me for sure.
Mm-hmm.
Ludo Narrative on Twitter said, Blue, I'm not a dog person or owner, but Blue felt right to me. Something dependable and simple.
Yep.
I agree. I like that.
Yep. Sabrina on Twitter said, my dog is named Blue. So I kind of wonder if most people just did Blue and the other one was just like a throwaway name.
Yeah, maybe. Yeah, funny that it came up even, but I thought it was worth asking about. Okay, so we'll begin with Act 1. The game starts with your character, who's a truck driver named Conway, and he shows up at this gas station. And you start chatting with the gas attendant, whose name is Joseph, and you ask for directions to a place called 5 Dogwood Drive. And the attendant says, oh, you're going to need to use Kentucky Route Zero to get there. But I don't exactly remember how to get to Route Zero. However, A friend of mine, Weaver Marquez, she does know how to get there. And so you're already kind of starting off in this like weird vein of, okay, like it's just sort of a weird interaction to even start the game with.
Yeah, the dialogue's funny and quirky. And then also apparently this guy's blind, which I didn't pick up on initially. So that was interesting.
Oh, okay. I missed that also. That makes sense.
Yeah, they mention it, I think either Weaver or, as we meet later, Shannon mentions it, but I can't remember. I think Weaver mentions he's blind.
Okay, that makes sense. As a thing, I guess, as you go. So he says, okay, well, you can find your address by logging into my computer. That'll pull up my address book, and you can find out where Weaver lives. I can kind of describe it, but it would be better to just have the address. So you can go there. She'll tell you how to get to Route 0. But my power's out. So you're going to have to turn my power on because the electric company turned my power off. So if you use my generator, that'll boot up my electricity. You can get on my computer, and then you can find this address. So you go into the basement to turn on the generator, and there are 3 people there: Emily, Ben, and Bob, and they're playing a tabletop game. It seemed kind of like D&D.
Yeah, it did.
Yeah, and they're blocking the way. It's strange. They don't seem to see or hear you. They don't acknowledge you at all. Like, they'll be talking to each other about something related to the game, and you'll try to interject, and nothing will happen. It's super odd. Eventually, as they're talking, they say, okay, well, we need to start the game, but we need the glowing dice. Or we need our dice. And they're like, no, it's dark. I can't find it. And they say, well, it's glowing, so you should be able to see it. It would be easy. They're like, well, no, it like fell down the stairs over that way. I don't want to go down there. So they're kind of bickering with each other. So you go and turn the flashlight or lamp that you have off and end up finding the glowing dice yourself. You return to the table, and they're all gone.
Creepy.
Yeah, very weird. It sort of sets this tone of like, okay, what? Like, right before this, up at the gas station, you're already like, all right, things are a little strange, and then this happens, and you're like, all right, this is getting pretty weird. Like, things are quirky and odd, and it's weird that you have the dice, but they're not there. So how that worked out. You can choose to keep the dice too or not, or put it on the table. I kept the dice. Do you remember what you did?
I think I put it on the table. I was kind of afraid they were like ghosts and they were going to haunt me or something if I kept it. So I put it back.
Smart. I wonder if that will affect for either of us. I'm glad we did different things. I just kept it because I was like, all right, whatever. We'll see. I think it offered me to put it down, and I chose not to. And I turned the power on, and then it wouldn't let me put it down. So I maybe would have put it down on my way back out, but it wouldn't let me. So that's good. If that makes a difference in our games, that would be cool. They're gone. You turn the address, or you turn the power on, and you can go find this address on the computer. You have to type in passwords and stuff, or type in answers to riddles, or like write poems that this guy would write, basically, to get in. Did you have any trouble with this, or did it just work for you?
I went through it's weird. So you like you type in one thing, then you have to type in another thing, then another thing. I think it took me like three tries or something. It was kind of difficult.
Okay, wow. I wasn't sure if there was a thing. I got it all right the first time.
Oh, really?
Yeah, but clearly just an accident. Like, I was like, okay, what do I think this guy would say? And I happened to choose them right, but I didn't have to go through any sequence. It just worked.
Or maybe I chose, like, the same thing twice. I don't know.
Oh, okay. Interesting.
Yeah, sometimes in the dialogue options, there was, like, like 3 choices, and it would give you the same choice. Or, like, you could kind of go back and then click the same dialogue choice. I might have done that. I'm not sure.
Okay. I wasn't sure if there was like a real password or not, or if just whatever you did made it go forward. I wasn't sure because I was surprised that the couple answers I chose, it just like I answered the 3 questions and then I got to log in and I was like, wow, I can't believe that worked. Like
maybe I did do it. I don't know. Who's to say?
No, yeah, I could totally see it being a thing that any 3 get you in. I could see that too. Because it would be sort of weird and annoying to have to do like the correct 3 sequence, you know. But either way, ultimately you get the address, and you come out. You talk to Joseph and say, "Hey, there were people in your basement, but now they're not there." And he's like, "Oh, that's not real." Basically, strange things do happen, which I feel like is like a really good like. I don't know, silly trope or whatever of like you're in a spooky movie. Like spooky movies say things like that. You're like, well, you know, people do get weird sometimes, and you're like, no. So,
yeah,
I thought that was kind of fun. Of like, strange things happening, but dismisses you, and you're like, okay, cool.
Yeah, and then go ahead. You can finish this part now. I got a little comment.
Oh, cool. Yeah. Also, he tells you, hey, I borrowed a TV from the Marquez's, I don't know, a long time ago, so I put it in your truck and you can take it back to her. I'd appreciate it. You're like,
random.
Okay, cool. Yeah, okay, cool.
So yeah, I guess at this point, maybe he's not actually blind. Like, I don't know how he'd know the power was out. I don't know how he'd use his computer. And I don't know how he'd grab the TV and put it in your car while all being blind. So maybe I misremembered, or they just say he's blind, but he's not really blind. I don't know why. Yeah, maybe that'll come up later. I don't know.
No, yeah, that's interesting. Maybe he has like really bad eyesight, like, and so he can like he could see the shape of his TV or something. It's not like full blind, but still has like issues seeing. Maybe that's what they meant. I don't know.
Yeah, I'm not sure. I'm gonna look it up later.
Yeah, no, that's a good idea. Cool. Okay, so from here you get back into your truck and you head off to the Marquez house to find out how to get to Route 0. You get a kind of map pulled out, and you can follow like the road to go to where you need to. Also, you can just drive around and go to other places. I didn't actually end up doing that, but you could. I'm gonna do that next episode for sure. I just didn't know I could.
Yeah, I went to a few different places, but
did you?
Yeah,
okay,
nice. Not necessarily even on purpose. I think I just didn't know where I was going a lot of the time, so I like found different places, like a museum, and there was something else. I forget what it was called. Maybe another gas station. I can't remember.
Okay, cool. Yeah, that's awesome. Yeah, I ended up just going straight to the Marquez house. So you end up seeing a map kind of be pulled up, and then there's like some things on the map like that are listed, but yeah, there's not a ton of spots along the way you can stop, but there are a few. But anyway, go to the Marquez house. Conway goes. He gets there. He brings the TV up, and he talks to Weaver, and she tells him to set her TV up and to go find her cousin named Shannon. And she says, if you do this stuff, like, I could tell you how to get to the 0. And you're kind of like, well, I mean, I'd rather just go to the 0. Could you do that instead?
Yeah. Everyone's trying to get him to help with something.
Yeah. It felt like, like you were just got sent on, you're like, all right, am I being like sent on everyone's errands? Like, telephoning my way to finding this address I need to.
Yeah.
And so you are kind of like, all right, fine. Like I'll do what you want if it goes alongside of what I want. One of the things he does is he plugs in the TV, and it seems fairly normal. And Weaver is like, no, that's not right. And you're like, I've plugged in a TV before. Like, come on.
Yeah.
Of course it's right. And she's like, nah, I don't know. And she like messes with it for a second, and it goes sort of staticky. and Conway just sort of like zones out while he's looking at the TV and kind of sees the background behind him shift a little bit, and then he like unzones out, and she's like, okay, cool, you can if you go here, if you go to the old mine, the 0 will be through that, and you'll be able to like get your way there. And you're like, all right, cool, sounds good, I'll see you later.
Yeah, she was pretty weird. Yeah, and then she also kind of disappears too, from what I remember. After you're done talking to her, she's just kind of gone.
I think you're right. Yeah. So it feels again sort of similar to the gas station of like, okay, you got some more information, but it's still weird. I guess I'll go to the next place, sort of thing. So a bit odd. You make it to Elkhorn Mine. That's where she says that the Route 0 is through. And you get there. And inside you find Shannon on the phone. And she's talking to someone about eviction. You're only hearing her side of the conversation. So it's like, oh, but I have money for 2 weeks. Or, no, I understand. Or, different things like that. It's clear the conversation's not going well for her. And then she hangs up. And you find out that this is Shannon, Weaver's cousin, who you were sent to look for. So, kind of like, oh, cool, this worked out that you were at this mine. And you're like, okay, how could the Route 0 be through this mine? It's a mine. And Shannon's like, yeah, I don't get it either, but Weaver never lies, so if she says it's here, it must be.
Yeah, at this point, you're just like, all right, this is something weird's going on. And then the more you're into the mine, you're like, okay, how would you ever get your car through this mine to deliver anything? Like, it just doesn't make sense.
Yeah, it really doesn't. At this point, I'm like, is there like, I don't know, an invisible highway or something we're trying to get on? Like, I don't know. It's like strictly thrown my mind into like the supernatural, because naturally this doesn't make any sense. From here, Conway and Shannon head into the mine. Shannon also feels like she's supposed to be at the mine, but doesn't exactly know why. She just is like, I think there's something I'm supposed to find here, kind of thing. And so you head into the mine. While you're in the mine, something falls on you and injures your leg. So now you're hobbling around, and it's actually kind of annoying playing that you move a lot slower.
Yeah, way slower.
Yeah, it makes sense, but it's annoying.
Yeah, and it's nice because eventually they give you like a mine cart to kind of ride on, so that made it more bearable. But yeah, the rest of the episode you're limping around, and it's definitely slower.
I hope that the next act you're back to normal speed. Even if you still like talk about like, oh yeah, it's still pretty sore or something, like, I hope that's the case, but I hope you don't have a limp the next 4 episodes.
Yeah, that would be nice.
While you're after you get put on a mine cart to kind of traverse the mine, Shannon tells you that there was once a big flood in this mine, and so you kind of get this I don't know, eerie sense of like something bad had happened before. She like mentions it a little bit, but doesn't go too far in depth. As you're going through, you also arrive at a stage that apparently folk song archivist used, and they would record the songs that the miners would sing. Shannon tells you that the archivist escaped when the mine flooded, but that the miners did not. For me, I'm like, okay, these are like strange details, and I think it builds intrigue as to what's going on, and you're like, okay, there was stuff that's sort of haunted feeling here, but like I can't quite place it. I don't know what's up.
Yeah, it did feel eerie. Yeah, because it seems like a lot of them died in the mine, and it sounds like the mining company that owned it was like really shitty. So like, yeah, there could be something, maybe a thread of a story that's gonna be throughout the game with those two things.
I think they made a comment about the mining company, like, you had to pay for all of these things. So it was like, oh, you had to pay to have a light, or you had to pay to have like a mask to be able to breathe better, or like different things like that. The mining company would like just charge their employees all along the way for like safer stuff.
Yeah, pretty shitty.
Yeah, it sounded really bad. Ultimately, you end up going outside the mine. Outside of it, you find some notebooks that are from the archivist, and you find out that these archivists were Weaver's parents, and that Shannon's parents were among the miners that drowned, presumably. Shannon didn't like quite tell you this, but it's like inferred based on the things you find.
Yeah, definitely. Because she knew so much about the mine and all these things and about the tragedy, and her parents are apparently not around or something for some reason.
Again, I think more like intrigue, more like sort of backstory of like, okay, this is a rough spot. And ultimately, Shannon says, okay, can I ride with you? I like hitchhiked here. And, you know, we could go back to Weaver's house to figure out what she meant about the Route Zero being through the mine. Again, I know she's not a liar, but we didn't find it while we were in there, so maybe she can give us some more guidance, basically. And so you head back to the Marquez farmhouse, and while you're there, Shannon repairs the TV the right way, I guess, does it better than what you did. And what you see happen is the farmhouse gets replaced by a cave. Conway and Shannon are driving towards the cave, and the episode itself ends with this, and you're like, okay, does the TV, is it like a time jumping thing? Like, I don't know.
Yeah, it definitely left me with a lot of questions. Because that was like the second time that same TV had made him zone out or do something weird. So who knows? I guess we'll find out more in Act 2, hopefully.
Right, yeah. I figure we'll have to figure out how more of this works. But yeah, it just leaves you with this, like, what are all of the things that have happened? So that ends Act 1. Between each act, they have an interlude. So you get a little bit of other, content, I guess, between your acts. So we'll talk about that first interlude, which is called Limits and Demonstrations. When you are playing this game, if you've got, at least this is how it was on my version, but you have like a circle where you pick the episode, and it moves you around clockwise, and you know, it puts Act 1, and then it puts the interlude, and so on. So yep. That's how it was for you too.
Yeah.
Cool. Yeah. So I guess this is the order I assume it was released in, and how you should play it. So interlude number 1, called Limits and Demonstrations. What you've got is Emily, Ben, and Bob visiting an art exhibit. So these are the people from that D&D game earlier. So kind of strange to see them in a new spot. Also, through the episode, I think you see them kind of in the background.
Oh, really?
At points. Yeah, I think at the Marquez house, there's a part where they're like right in front of the screen while you're like walking up the path. They're like doing stuff. So or it seems like it's them. So I don't know who they are or what they are. If they're like ghosts or angels or something. I don't know.
Angels.
Maybe. I don't know. Demons. I guess they could be that too. They don't seem bad, but they certainly seem
not normal.
Weird with space and time. They seem like they could be outside of it in some manner. I don't know. Anyway, you're there. As those three, you play as Emily. You're at this art exhibit by Lola Chamberlain. It's got 5 pieces that were displayed over like a 35-year period, and her art is known for being notoriously difficult to install. There's just challenges that come with it. Its buildings can't handle it, different, weird stuff like that. And also her art is strange. When you see it, it's bizarre. It is, I don't know, I guess taking art to its like, extreme ways. Like, I feel like it would be like abstract art even more sort of thing.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it's weird. It's not like a painting or a picture. It's like interactive kind of. or it's like like scenery. There's like the TV with the lamp over it. Then there's other random interactive things, I guess.
Yeah, it's strange. Yeah, some are interactive, some of them are things you look at and you're just like, I don't know what this means exactly. Like, yeah, that's really a lot of what it is. And so what happens is you go through each piece, you look at it, and the three of you kind of discuss it as you look at it, or interact with it as you look at it. So some of these pieces, I would say the interaction was pretty short, but then there's definitely one that was pretty long where you do it for a while, where you're moving like a dial around through things, basically.
Yeah, and then there's one that's the super long one where it's like the audio recording, where you don't really do anything but you just listen to it. But that one I think was the longest one, from what I remembered.
Yeah, it was like you moved a dial and it was different ones of Lola's recordings. It gave me the vibe that maybe Lola was one of the archivists at the mine, is what it seemed like. Because it seemed like she was like almost giving like notes to herself, kind of like, okay, log 12, the miners are singing blah, blah, blah. Like it felt sort of like that.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah, I wonder if the interlude, like how it works is the whatever happens or something that happens will kind of show up in the next act. Something like that.
Yeah, that I could see that. That would make a lot of sense. Also, I think in the recording one, it talks about her having two partners who she like worked with, but then kind of went AWOL on them and like moved to Mexico for 2 years and didn't talk to them at all. But then like came back and then didn't say anything to them, and then ran into one at like the grocery store or something, and they were like, hey, why haven't you reached out? And they were like, well, I didn't know what to say, so I didn't. Or, so you get just sort of a strange thing from this. I imagine that Lola seems like she's probably eccentric and smart based on like this exhibit. Like it seems like she's probably talented and renowned having an exhibit like this, but also strange and maybe has stuff going on. And I guess potentially being traumatized from the miners all drowning and you escaping, if that's part of it. I don't know if it is for sure, but it seems like it could be.
Yeah, I mean, that would be super traumatizing if you're in a mine and no one else can get out because they're all drowning and the company is doing nothing about it.
Yeah, kind of wild. That's really the end of that interlude. So I guess that'll move us to general thoughts on the game itself, or on Act 1. For me, we've talked about it a bit along the way, but I've got no idea what's going on. But I think that's in a good way. I think not knowing what's going on sometimes can be bad, and you're like, I hate this, I don't get it. This one is not that way at all. Instead, I'm like, things are really weird, and I don't get it, and I don't know how to explain it. I don't know what it is, but I would like to find out.
Yeah, I totally agree. There's like a kind of creepy, maybe not even creepy, maybe more mysterious like undertone throughout the game. Even like when you're talking to people, the dialogue is good, but it just feels kind of off. And it's hard to put my finger on it. But yeah, the whole time, it just, Conway's going just to deliver some antiques to a store, and then all this weird shit starts happening. Just, it doesn't settle right. But yeah, I agree. It's not in a bad way at all. It's very much so. Like, I want to play the next episode and figure out, what the hell is going on. Like, is Conway crazy? Is everyone else even real? That kind of stuff.
Yeah, it really brings up those questions. Because to me, the way I thought the game was going is like, you're the it would be if you or I were thrown into this situation, and then everything else around him is weird or supernatural or strange. But I think you bring up a good point. It could totally be the opposite, that Conway's not well, and potentially a lot of these things aren't even happening.
Yeah, because he doesn't seem that weirded out by a lot of stuff, at least based on the dialogue. I mean, he'll kind of ask some questions, but he doesn't ever think, this is kind of strange. Like, I'm not going to go into that mine shaft to find a state route. Like, that's not a thing. But he kind of goes with it. So It's strange.
That's a really good point. You'd think that you should be surprised by things like that. That you would be like, or even like express more annoyment. Like, no, I don't want to turn on your power to get an address to ask how to get to like this thing.
Yeah.
Like, I would be like, well, sorry, person who ordered this thing on 5 Dogwood. Like, I'm not doing it.
Yeah, this is too much.
Yeah, this is too wild to pull off. Like, I don't want to keep playing telephone to do this. But he instead is just rolling with it. That's a really good point.
Yeah, and then one weird thing too is after he goes through the mine shaft and comes out the other side, his car and his dog are there. So it's just like, how do those get there? And he didn't even seem to. Neither of them seem to be bothered by that. So it's just kind of weird.
Yeah, just rolling with it. That's super interesting. Yeah, that's cool. I think also another thing I was thinking about this game is like trying to describe the vibes of it. I would say that it's sort of a mesh of X-Files, Welcome to Night Vale podcast, and Oxenfree. I think for the Oxenfree and X-Files thing is sort of that creepy vibe. X-Files is always creepy. There's some paranormal thing going on and trying to figure out how it's explained. This feels certainly like that. Oxenfree being on that St. Edward's Island or whatever it's called, and like, oh right, this is sort of spooky, what's up? And then for Welcome to Night Vale, that's a podcast where all conspiracy theories are true, basically. And so it's this weird like radio show, and the dialogue really reminds me of this game. I feel like whichever one came first had to have been an influence for the other one, because the dialogue in that podcast is super bizarre and people say all sorts of weird stuff. And it feels very reminiscent of this game.
Yeah, those are good comparisons. Yeah, that's cool. Well, one thing I really liked about this was the sound effects. So there's no like audio dialogue or audible dialogue. It's all text you read. But I think the music and the sound effects are really good. In particular, the one thing I really noticed, or the time I really noticed this, was you can go to this bait shop, and I don't know if you did this, but you can go to the bait shop and look for Shannon there, and you don't actually go inside. It's all like text describing what you see, and it like lists like there's these fish tanks with bait in them, and then you can hear the sound of like fish tanks. And then you can go and look at the fish tanks, and the noise gets louder because you get closer to it. It just sounds really crisp and real. So I think they did that really well, like all throughout the game. Just like the subtle sound effects and noises just sound really good and clear to me.
That's really cool. I didn't do that. I didn't go to the bait shop to experience that. But that's really cool. I like that a lot. I imagine that, like you said, since it's all like text based, for what the characters say and stuff, I bet they really need their sound to like sell you the feel and all of that for what's going on, as opposed to like just reading stuff,
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and I wonder if too, because there's no audible dialogue or audio dialogue, whatever, it doesn't. You can hear or you're more focused on the background noises, so they pop more too.
Yeah, that's true. If they didn't do that, you'd be like silently sitting, reading things as it goes, which I'm sure there's some elements of that being cool. I guess it would be more like a visual novel or something, but like, yeah, this getting the sound in there, that's cool. I like the music and stuff in the background, like the stuff going on is also nice. It feels fitting for sure.
Mm-hmm.
Cool. My last thing I had for this episode is Left Behind Game Club, our friends who do a podcast like ours going through games. They have a full series on this. Last year they did all the episodes, all the interludes. I think they've got like 9 or 10 episodes. It's a big series, but highly recommend checking their series out. Maybe it would be a cool companion listen to, hearing our thoughts about it as it goes and listening to theirs alongside it or something, or, binge it after the fact. But definitely check their stuff out. They're awesome dudes and make a good podcast, so highly recommend checking their stuff out.
That's real cool.
As a companion.
Yeah,
I'm looking forward to listening to episodes once we're done, maybe, so that I I don't know, can experience it again and kind of see how someone else went through it.
Yeah, don't get spoiled either.
Right, yeah, exactly. Yeah, that's why I might wait until we're done, just so to not spoil myself.
Yeah, that makes sense to me. One last minor point, too, I have is sometimes I found it hard to figure out what I was supposed to do next in this game. I think, and I don't think that's necessarily bad. But yeah, like when I had to go to the mine shaft, I was like, I don't even know how to get there. The map where you kind of travel to the next place, I found a little bit confusing to know where to go. So that's kind of why I stumbled upon other things, which ended up being cool. But I was just kind of going, and then I happened to find the mine. So I don't know if that was intentional, but it kind of forced me to just kind of wander, and then I got lucky and found it. So I guess you could cut that as either a good thing or a bad thing.
Yeah, it's weird. And because I think they said, like, oh, you turn right at the artificial limbs factory or something, and then you'll find the mine. And I'm like, okay, where the hell's that?
Yeah, dude, never saw it.
Yeah, and I don't know. I wonder if it is supposed to be that way for the game, like the whole, like, if it wants you to feel like a truck driver before map quest getting directions.
Yeah.
Like, in which case that's really good. But you're right. It like if you feel too lost, it won't be immersive. It'll just be annoying. But if it works out right, then maybe that's what they want and it's good. I don't know. That's a good question.
Yeah. But yeah, I think overall very fun and intriguing.
Yeah, for sure. I feel like this one is intrigue. I hope that Act 2 gives us some crumbs of answers or something to like hold on to a little more. Like, obviously I don't want all the answers revealed or something like that, but that would be really nice to have something to latch onto. Like, I've got intrigue and now I'm like, show me something. Like, and am like hooked in. So I hope we get some type of reveal or learning a little more about a thing. Like, that would be cool. But yeah, definitely excited to see what's next for sure.
Yeah, same. I'm excited about it.
Yeah. Cool. That's all I've got. Do you have anything else?
Nope. That's what I got too.
Cool. All right. Well, that's Act 1 and Interlude 1, Limits and Demonstrations for Kentucky Route Zero. If you've got thoughts on either of those, we'd love to hear them. Send them our way. I'd love to talk theories or anything like that, especially if you're playing alongside us and haven't played this game before either. Your reactions would be fun to hear, or what it was like when you first played. That would be cool. But yeah, you can get in contact with us on Twitter at StoryEverPod. Our website's TheGreatestStoryEverPlayed.com. That's got a backlog of all of our episodes, or wherever you get your podcasts, it's there too. If you'd like to support the podcast financially, you can do that at patreon.com/TheGreatestStoryEverPlayed. For that, if you do that for as little as $1 per month, that will get you access to special bonus episodes we do each month, talking about things like The Mandalorian Season 1, our favorite Pokemon, stuff like that. If that interests you, check that out. If you'd like to support the podcast just but can't financially, that's totally cool. Share it with a friend. You could rate and review us on iTunes or Podchaser or whatever. That would be really helpful. Really, anything that can get more people to enjoy games together with us, I think would be cool, and with you. So that would be awesome if you'd like to do that. And yeah, that's our episode, and we'll see you next time.
See ya.